What up, what up, what up? It's your boy Dave B. You watch Dave Beyond TV where we go beyond the everyday bullshit that people be consuming on a day to day basis. And I'm going live, you know what I'm saying, live, just randomly and stuff like that, talking about this new moon preparation. Moon is currently in Scorpio. And I spoke a little bit about this in the previous live and shit like that I had last night. But for the most part, this moon in Scorpio, one thing you gotta, first of all, one thing you gotta keep in mind when it comes to the new moon in Sagittarius, it's it's all about like what we going through right now is really it's really pushing you to kind of dig within yourself to find that spark. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a lot of things that you could look around and see in your situation that might not add up to where you want to take things in life. You know what I'm saying? Like just the reality of life is like we going through a shift. Shift comes a pretty much like a requirement to learn and adapt. You know what I'm saying? You got to know how to adapt to new times. You got to know how to add on new things to your awareness for you to to be in a position to actually prosper. You know what I'm saying? Like life is a it's a constant change. You know what I'm saying? There's always gonna be something new to have to add in to what you already known in order for you to get to that next point or that next step. So right now the moon being in Scorpio, it's kind of confusing because like this is the time in which holiday wise, you know what I'm saying, the way they set up the world and shit like that, they celebrating the time where they want everybody to be in your space and stuff like that. But you might have to create and craft time for you to be on your own. That moon in Scorpio, it needs you to kind of sit with yourself, needs you to reflect on what's actually going on beneath the surface. And when you tap into what's going on beneath the surface, what can happen is you can lay out the groundwork for you to have better, basically, like how I've been saying about Sagittarius season, you need to check your internal state, know what's going on subconsciously with you so that you can put energy in the right pockets, put things in the right place. If your interpretation of things is in a skewed way or in some kind of way that puts you in a space where you can't be who you want to be or you can't be your, then you need to start to actually attack into that, attacking these things, go to war with that type of shit. Shout out to you from India. You need to, like the moon in Scorpio, it's wartime. We've been saying, I've been saying, it's a spiritual warfare in the sense of, basically everything you see outside of you, it can, if you get too wrapped up in what you see outside of you, you might put yourself in a space where you don't really, it's like you can let things around you determine who you are and where you want to go. And right now is one of the most important times to connect to your actual truth, not just what it looked like on the surface, not just what it looked like around you. What it looked like around you might be telling you one thing, but deep down inside, your deep passions and things like that, you know where you want to take things. You know where you actually trying to go in life. And so, again, the only way you're going to get there is if you embody that. And now embodying that is going to bring up a bunch of things that confront you and create conflict. And it's going to be up to you to be able to pretty much slice through that, go to war with all those different things that might be adding up to how you want to, where you want to take yourself in life and shit like that. And so you have to be the adult, the wise spirit to say, you know what, regardless, I'm being presented in what might look like an illusion of trying to convince me that I'm not capable of this or that I'm not quite ready for that. You know what I'm saying? All the different anxiety that might build up inside of you. You got to be able to slice through that and say, you know what? Fuck all that shit. Um, it takes one step at a time. You know what I'm saying? You might try to do everything at one time because, especially in this world, it's always something trying to rush you. You know what I'm saying? The thought of mortality, the thought of, damn, my life is, I'm living my life. I could die at any moment and things like that. Different things that make you think about your own morality and shit like that. You can't even get too wrapped up into that world, into that aspect of things. You have to live every life. And see, if anything, that should inspire you to even go harder in the moment you in. You know what I'm saying? Because the truth of it is that yeah, you don't know when you're gonna expire. You know what I'm saying? You don't know when time is going to actually click for you, in which you're not going to be able to do something. Anything can happen, but a lot of times we put ourselves into that aspect of looking at anything can happen and starting to get kind of more on the depressing side of things. We start to look at everything that could go wrong, but the new moon is an opportunity for us to actually consider, like I think I've said this before, but consider what if things go right. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could keep living your life how you want to, small and caged in and only confined to what you can see around you or what other people validate you for. But the truth of it is, you're the reason why you haven't gotten to that next step or that next level. You know what I'm saying? So when you're in your own space and you're, kind of going through the ups and downs of whether or not you should pursue something, or not even whether or not you should pursue it. Maybe you've already decided you want to pursue it, but now the question is how you going to go about it. In those spaces and things like that, you have to understand that, you know, you're the only one who can make the choice that's going to make a difference and things like that. You're the only one who's going to actually make the choice to separate from what the perception might look like. And people around you might not understand it. They might not see a vision that you see. But, even with that, it's like, you should look at that as somewhat of a compliment, because it lets you know that you're in a space in which has not been seen or perceived before. You want to something completely new. And so when you're on to something new, understand, you're in a special space, a space in which the only thing you can really do is relate with God and kind of have those conversations with you and God, aka those times you see yourself and you considering, like, okay, where am I actually going to take things? You know what I'm saying? Like, where do I actually need to be my full self, and where do I need to let go and detach from things that might be still linking me down to this world and keep her dimensional, because everything of this world is going to keep you boxed into something that's been tried and true, aka something that's been done before, things that are not actually true to your nature and things like that. So, sometimes you have to be okay and willing and comfortable with just being uniquely you, and you in that unique space, you carve out and create what can be a new potential for somebody else who is resonating on that same wave but doesn't have an outlet or an idea about how to express that into the world. You know what I'm saying? All people, like, you got to think about even how industries are made, right? Hip hop wasn't a thing until somebody had an idea to create the space for it. And a lot of people walking around have something that is unique, and they can create a new space, but they're too scared to kind of present that to the world. They might be too afraid of maybe, what's already popular, and they might be considering that. They might be in certain situations in which they, as though the only way to make it out of life and the only way to keep going is to, like, yo, uh shout out to y'all. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, look, I feel you too, man. Even your message and shit like that. It is a, like, we in some times that make it feel like there's no hope and there's no possibility that things can get better. But the truth is like, man, life, this is the opportunity. You know what I'm saying? Every day we wake up, we have the opportunity to take what's on our mind and make it real. And again, you gonna get people like this MAGA dude and shit like that, trolls and shit, people who walk around artificial intelligence ass mindsets and shit like that, who don't have anything inspirational to say other than what they've copycatted and put into some kind of, what I'm saying, whatever they find comfort in, what I'm saying, trolls and stuff like that. It's like, we live in such a world where it feel like ain't nobody around you to connect to, ain't nothing to do. But the truth is, like, life is precious in and of itself. Sometimes you have to actually just be in your own space and get a grip on what's important to you. And when you figure out what's important to you, then okay, now you have a starting point. And with that starting point, it's like, okay, it's one foot after another, one step at a time. People around you not gonna get it because they not from your space. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes that's why everybody in the world got to learn how to be alone, and not be alone to the point where you feel lonely, but alone to the point where you understand that you are responsible for what you make out of your life. It's on you. So, like, yeah, again, we all go through where it seems like, again, you might be on the trajectory of depression. You might not really, you might be losing hope in yourself. You might stop believing yourself. You might be questioning yourself, like, what the fuck am I here for, and what am I actually? The question it's like it's not about you coming up because sometimes people think that the question itself and them questioning who they are is the problem or is the end all be all. But to be honest with you, it's like it's not the end all be all. It's not the end of the world. You having that question is just a reminder. It's time for you to remind yourself who the fuck you is. Remind yourself what you came here to do. You know what I'm saying? Remind yourself like, yo, you know what? Actually, yeah, I was questioning my worth, but actually this is where my worth is. This is what I actually am meant to do. And see, again, other people around you might not understand that. So it's going to add on to the anxiety. It's going to add on to the feeling of, man, I don't know about this world. I don't know my place in the world. I don't know if I can be successful in this world. But the question is, it's not even supposed to be a question. You know what I'm saying? It's really just you asking. It's really you putting yourself in a space where you can rediscover that for yourself. And once you rediscover that, again, that requires you to be in a solo space. That requires you to be in a peace of mind aspect. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you be so connected to different things. People be asking you for different things, different sides of you. Everybody that you meet automatically put an expectation on you of what they think you should be. And again, it's not to demonize them or to be angry or opposing them, because that's the natural inclination of another spirit linking up with another thing outside of themselves. So it's like if a person comes, anybody you have in your life, they're gonna be putting some kind of expectation on you, right? But this is what setting boundaries, and again, setting boundaries doesn't mean that you have to confront and be, whether you, however you take it, doesn't mean you have to be negative to anybody who's in your life who's presenting you with an expectation, or what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be that deep, but what it does mean is that you have to keep in mind, okay, everybody outside of me has an expectation of me based upon their own trauma and what been going on in their mind before they even met me. I've been me before I met whoever's outside of me. So there's a balance needed to be had, right? Where can you can be aware of what somebody's expectation might be of you, because in a lot of cases, right, in the best, most healthy relationships, the expectation that who you meet might set upon you is something that can actually inspire you to be a better you. And that's how you know relationships that's worth being in versus ones that's not. If what a person presents to you as an expectation is something in which you see a possibility to be a better version of yourself, then by all means, that's something you should pursue. That's something you should consider keep life. Just as long as it balances out with where you at currently. Because sometimes we can be attach ourselves to certain people, places, and things that have expectations of us that don't align with who we truly are, and therefore we can lose ourselves in the pursuit of that. Everybody is on their own pace. So sometimes you be linked up with people who trying to rush you in this direction, rush you in that direction. Sometimes you be with people who slow you down. It's like life is so much more than this linear point A to point B ideology that we might have adopted. Sometimes you might have to get a little dimensional. Sometimes you might jump into different spaces at different times or simultaneously in order for you to actually put together the pieces of what your current situation is needing of you. You know what I'm saying? The current situation you in right now might be something that you're, again, shout out to y'all, you know what I'm saying? You said crafting diamond mines. Exactly. You might it take pressure in order to create and craft that diamond. So the pressure you in right now is for you to put the pieces together for yourself and say, you know what, wait a minute. I might not understand what's going on, but it's not, sometimes it ain't about, like, again, people so locked in. Shout out to Mooney Mercury Baby in the chat. Some people get so locked in to trying to live life in a way that they seen other people live it in, to make sure they have the level of validation or they have some kind of self-gratitude or put value into what they doing and living. And it's like sometimes it's like, and I'm not even going to say sometimes, every individual is meant to live life to the degree of how they want to live it. So you got to think, if the status or the quality of your life is low, it's low vibrational, you into a lot of bullshit, You have to consider that you put yourself too much in that mind state and reproduced what that is around you. Now, see, it gets tricky too because the more you connected with other individuals, people might be living a lower quality of life, but coming to your life, and of course you're going to attract different people because you live in a high quality of life. If you really tapped into yourself, you understand what's going on subconsciously. Even if your life is still not perfect and you living shitty and shit like that, still if you got problems and stuff like that, you might be living a higher quality of life based upon your perspective. You look at your life as more enjoyable. So again, you're gonna have a spirit that attracts other people who want to live something similar to that. And you got to realize that sometimes people be in their own world, in their own life, living a lower quality of life, but then see you as a shining light and try to attach themselves to you. And you got to know how to discern. Like I've been saying for a while now, you got to know where your energy begins and ends, and when another individual energy begins and ends next to you. Because again, we live in a world where it is about association and relating. We all gonna have different connections. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to grow up, be more of ourselves, and then connect with people who resonate with that, but also encounter experiences with people who differ and contradict who we are, because that's what makes us a more well-rounded individual. We have to go through conflict. We have to deal with people who have minds different than ours. Because if we don't, it's like a matter of steel sharpens steel. The conflict is what makes you more sharp spirit, more intelligent, more aware of different spaces that could exist. When you too wrapped up into your own space, it limits you. You become a person who's not well rounded. You're not cultured. So when you go to different spaces and shit like that, you can't. It's like if you ever played an RPG game, if you have different skills, it'll unlock certain dialogues. Some games be like that, right? It'd be like a certain game where if you have a certain skill and a high enough level in that skill, it'll unlock certain special dialogue or special scenes in the game for you, right? So you got to look at life like that. If you close yourself off, become closed minded, and you interact with a bunch of different people, you're not going to have the awareness to ask certain questions or to say certain things that can unlock certain experiences for you to have to learn more about how the world actually works. The world can't work from your small view of what is possible. God is all possibilities. Therefore, the more limited and closed minded you become, the more you start to withdraw. Or and see, the thing is, people withdraw into their own ego. So the ego makes it seem like they're expanding and they're going somewhere, but really they're just lost in their own ego, and therefore they're not actually going nowhere. You know what I'm saying? They not actually expanding in no aspect. They just living more of their own light. They listening more to what they confirm with. You know what I'm saying? You said, by the way, I'm 13, and this is very inspiring to me. Thank you much, sir. Thank you to you. You know, shout out to you, man. You at an age in which, you know what I'm saying, you got a lot of potential for things to develop in your mind and shit like that. But back to what I was saying, like, a lot of what a lot of what we be experiencing in the world and things like that, we trap ourselves in a certain perspective, and sometimes we can't see outside of that. Therefore, when new information is presented to us, we don't know what to do with that. And you got to realize that sometimes the way you saw things and the way what you thought was right and what you thought is the way to proceed and stuff like that, sometimes you have to observe and stand back so that you can develop an awareness of new information, so you can take in new things and have new perspectives and shit like that. That's what Sagittarius energy is all about. It's about multiple mutable, I said multiple, but yeah, multiples of perspective, more than one, more than your own way of seeing things. Okay, let me consider different aspects and angles in order for me to have a more well-rounded in an idea or perspective of the bigger picture at hand and things like that. And so when you get too closed-minded into certain things, and see, that's what the moon and Scorpio can kind of present you with a choice. Do you want to remain closed-minded, aka attach yourself to that emotional bias, get in a grudge and start to feel some kind of way and think that that's the end all be all, or are you going to be willing to transmute as different things, as you receive different aspects and different visions of things? Are you going to let those feelings allow you to expand and continue to grow and transform through those things, or are you going to let those things kill you? Again, this is the energy right before right before the new moon. The new moon being in Sagittarius is like there's a lot of new things that we can start to allow ourselves to be enlightened through. But if we're too stuck on certain emotional biases, if we're not allowing ourselves to, um, if we're keeping ourselves confined, because sometimes that Scorpio energy can make you feel like the best solution is to hide yourself away, to prevent and cut yourself off of vulnerability. That's the lower octave. But the higher octave is to understand that to share your vulnerability is freedom. To share what it is on your heart is the ability or the access to more information for you to be able to grow and continue to breathe air and live life and shit like that. So it's like a matter of you connecting more so to what lights your fire, and you connecting more so to what fires you, and saying, you know what, this is my truth. Therefore, I'm going to stand in it, whether I go to war or not, whether the things around me represent what it is that I feel in my heart or not. It's a fixed water. That's what Scorpio represents. So it's taking that feeling and resonating with it to a degree in which you can, boom, right, exactly, live, know yourself, know thyself, and then live it. That's exactly what Scorpio can bring to an individual. That kind of certain deep conviction of who you truly are, in order for you to continue to prosper and pursue whatever path it is, regardless of whatever is standing in your way as an obstacle, or what you might have to fight through in order to get to that point. And that's what we might have to tap into during this time, because the things we might see around us might not represent what we want to see. And that's for a reason. It's for a reason that during Sagittarius season, you might actually be looking at the worst of the worst, but you got to, in your mind, take yourself to a space in which you see the best of the best. You got to still keep that type of, or that vibe, or that sense of optimism, in order for you to kind of go ahead and withstand some of the harsh realities that might be around you and shit like that. Because again, the reality of the situation is like, it's cold outside. Things are changing. You don't understand, or you might not be able to cling on to the same things you could have during the summertime, where there was a lot more optimism in the air. There was a lot more sun to shine. Now it's getting darker quicker. So again, Goro, I'll say in reality, we might see that as, okay, at 5 o'clock, the sun is basically, you know, transitioning with the moon. It's nighttime by 5 o'clock. By 6:30, it's pitch black. Psychologically, that makes a lot of people depressed. That makes a lot of people look more so on the dark side of things before they look at the light side of things. It puts people through certain mind states and mentalities of desperation, maybe loneliness, maybe separation. It's cold outside, so people start to get a little more harsh. It's a lot more cold shoulders and things like that. Like, I don't want to talk, nothing to say. A lot more stone faces and things like that. So again, for a person who's out in the world trying to do something, you might start to feel that and let that influence you. You might let that freeze up your heart a little bit. You might feel the cold shoulders of others, and second guess whether or not you meant to be doing what you doing, or you know what I'm saying. You might feel that pullback, but it's like, you can let the world shape you, or you could put your energy out and let the world instead respond to you. You can let the world turn you into a monster, or turn you into what it looks like, or you, what you're supposed to do is be in this world and make the world look like you. So if you got a burning passion, if you got something to fight for, if you got something that you actually trying to bring into existence, and you believe in that, regardless of anybody around you who might believe in the same thing, fuck them. You meant to be a representation of something that hasn't been done before. You're meant to be something that, if you feel as though you have something in your heart that's different than everyone else around you, it's not like that out of coincidence. That's not some fluke. That's not some random shit that you should ignore and bypass. Too many people bypass that, and that become the people who grow old and bitter, or decide to off themselves later on in life. If you got something burning inside of you that lets you know, hey, I'm important, I'm meant to be here, I'm, you know, and again, meant to be here, important, and all these things, these can become egotistical. But I'm talking about that sweet spot where you develop a purpose, when The reason in which you're trying to elevate yourself is so you can uplift others, not so that you can just be the highest one at the point. That's when you actually get it. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly. Shout out to you say like you gotta lock in, and see that's the thing too. The way that we even lock in, this world makes you feel awkward and retarded for having something to believe in. This world makes you feel like, damn, just because I take myself serious, I'm supposed to feel like I'm on the outside looking in, and it don't make it no better that everything in this game is rigged. So it's like if you don't have certain resources and connections and relationships and shit like that, if you're not showing ass and you're not pretending to be some bullshit and stuff like that for people to appeal to, you're not even going to be in a space in which people feel as though, oh, you someone that we should invest in. Because nowadays people only investing in toxic shit. People only want to put their money towards where the drama at. People want to put their attention towards what's going wrong in other people's lives, and that's because everybody living a low quality ass life. Everybody is depressed in and of themselves, so the only thing they want to cling to and watch is other people living a shitty life, so that they can feel better than them and they can judge them from afar and shit like that. And you got to understand that when you actually got a mission and a purpose and stuff like that, again, a lot of this world, a lot of this shit, you're gonna start to realize make no kind of sense. It don't make no sense at all. So you, again, this is where delusion, imagination, Neptune is important, because you got to realize that everything you see around you is fabricated, human created, man made, bullshit, artificial intelligence. So it's like the reason in which we have dreams and imagination, creativity, is to create things that force this world to change. If we don't create new things for other people to be entertained by, and see, I say entertain, and I think Mooney, I didn't get the chance to watch your video, but I know you made a video or a live stream talking about. It's crazy that shit kind of like synchronized, because you made a live stream talking about entertainment versus substance, and how, you know what I'm saying, it's not smart to put more on the entertainment aspect than the substance. See, we live in a world in which the basic minded person is going to look at the entertainment aspect. That's why, again, trolls even exist and things like that. Because look at KRS, goofy ass. The only thing they could really say, and the only thing they trying to put out, is Diddy, right? Diddy being an entertainer, right? Immediately associated with drama and things like that. All of that is forms of hatred, and forms of not really having anything special of yourself or originality to present to the world. So the first thing you cling on to is what you watch and what seems to be the hot trending topic. And that's how you know. Oh, it's fucking silly, bro. It's like, it's some bullshit, bro. It's like people are so easy to like. It's so easy to penetrate like the weak minds. You know what I'm saying? You said some of these celebs might not even exist. And shout out to Q Swan, because that's real shit. A lot of, and that right there is the point. A lot of these celebs might not exist. And think about that. That's all fabricated, artificial intelligence shit that we be talking about. They don't exist. These are not real people. Any who walking around and can only recite the trending topic and can only throw different insults, again, right? You know what I'm saying? All the things you projecting onto me is what you wish someone would do to you. So you really asking for someone in the universe to spread your cheeks and shit like that. That's why you in the comments talking weird. It's like that's what's on your mind. You sit around somewhere in a dark cave thinking about getting your cheeks spread. That's sad. That's fucked up. I feel bad for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's more to life. People got to go outside and breathe air and shit like that, and like start to get connected with who they truly are and shit like that. Because when you got a purpose and stuff, you don't waste time throwing insults on other people's live streams and shit like that. You watching me, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Like, basically all your energy I got in a cup and I'm drinking from it. You know what I'm saying? But the people who actually put in real comments and real thoughts and shit like that, see, we building together, so they get the most out of this message and shit like that. But people who don't want to acknowledge it and shit like that and just want to hate on it, again, you just crying for help. It's a sad world. Everybody's crying for help. You got to realize people in your life. Exactly, right, exactly. Like what the fuck you talking? Like, oil me up, like, nigga, you like, you yearning for someone to oil you up? That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's ridiculous. But again, the world we in is so they so stuck on like that type of shit. That's what gets them off because it's like everybody going through a lot of shit, but this is where the shift is people who are choosing to make something out of that based upon who they truly are, the people who can tap into their truth and tap into their mind and actually make something of themselves, right? And making something of yourself doesn't mean that you hit the lottery tomorrow and everybody approves of what you do and shit like that. Again, I understand the old ways of looking of success as far as like other people validating the fact that you got your own, whatever it is. Like again, old ideas of success and shit like that make you feel like, oh, I'm doing something right in the world. But you got to realize, this world is fabricated. So a lot of what looks like a high status and things, and what I'm saying is not to disregard your own responsibilities and not make something of your life as far as getting your circumstance together and being able to afford a situation and circumstance for your own life. I'm not talking about that. Everybody needs to do that and find their way of blending the two. You know what I'm saying? All spirituality is meant to be a way of approaching reality in a way that you can stay true to yourself and don't feel like you have to compromise who you really are for the sake of the approval or validation of others. You know what I'm saying? That's what the purpose of this spiritual knowledge should be. Anybody who's preaching spirituality to completely separate and be some kind of person who is kind of like a hermit lost into the matrix and shit like that, because you don't realize that being too spiritual is a form of being lost in the matrix. In the point of um, you know what I'm saying, in the point of, if you put yourself in a sense of trying to be too spiritual, for instance, you'll put yourself in a space where you can't connect or you can't do nothing really in the world. You can't have no real impact in the world. So that's a psyop in and of itself. The purpose of spirituality is to get to a point in which you, again, identify your own individual space, and then once you identify that through spirituality, through separating yourself, you know who you really are. The purpose is to now bring that into existence. So bring who you really are and figure out ways in the current status of what's going on, find ways in which you can be creative to kind of create situations in which it looks like, okay, I can create stability out of being who I am. Even if that looks like you taking a 9 to 5 job or you doing something that don't look like the most important thing to do, but you finding a way to create stability, but balance it still with your purpose and what you're trying to be like what you're trying to do in the world beyond just the physical third dimensional kind of trap. You know what I'm saying? And what I mean by that is that's why, like, honestly, being an entrepreneur is spiritual in the sense of you're finding a way to, put your truth and monetize basically like who you are in this world. It's like you're finding ways to associate value with your intellectual property and your uniqueness. Same thing for an artist. That's what an artist is basically doing, like a musician or a person who paints. You're taking your intellectual property and you're learning the ways of the world in order for you to give it value. And so, in that process, of course, when you first start selling your intellectual property, you might not be pricing it to its true worth. But the more and more you engage with the world and you start to relate who you are and you expand the awareness of who you are and you kind of teach and show others like a side of life that they could not perceive without your energy, aka your one of a kind perspective, that's when you start to actually you start to be able to tax for who you are and add to your value and things like that. You said I had to take a step back from the spiritual community. I can see the walls around me and see God still. Right? Exactly. Yeah. Because again, most of the people who are in the spiritual community and making content like that, we live in the age of commercial media. So most people are only looking at the spiritual content as a way to make a bag or a way to say it's like it's kind of like a lot of times a lot like you can get caught up in that trap of listening to somebody who's leading you down something. You think they're teaching you something or you think they're leading you somewhere, but you got to realize that all of these people are spirits and bodies with flaws, and we're all having a human experience. So it's kind of like to be honest with you, it's kind of the I look at these times as the death of even the spiritual community in the sense of like looking online to spiritual leaders and things like that, because it's more about who's kind of bridging things with reality and shit like that. Like nowadays, like what, like back in 2016, 2015, 2014, it was different on different purpose. So the spiritual communities that was being built, it had potential for you to kind of link up and learn from one another and things like that. But in today's time, it's a different type of trajectory. It's a different type of flow. It's like it really is important who you building with in reality and being able to create tangible things and kind of who you can connect to in your actual community. If these people are trying to meet up online and shit like that, there needs to be some kind of realistic aspect attached to it in order for it to mean something. Because anything that stays online is basically just another aspect of the algorithm. It's just another piece of the world that can be easily locked away or easily tampered with or infiltrated, in which you can't really tap into that shit. You said bikes you stole in your how many bikes you stole in your life, bro? It's crazy. You still just talking to yourself and shit like that. Like it's crazy. You said research leads nowhere a lot of the time, even gematria, endless rabbit holes. Yeah, research. That's kind of like that science shit. When you get lost in science, you just or lost in knowledge, you just continuously kind of going on. But you know what? When you say rabbit hole, you got to think because life is a continuous cycle. Life in and of itself is a rabbit hole. So when you're going through a rabbit hole, it's not so much about, it's like we all going through this. Right, exactly. But you said I'll block that man. Yeah, yeah. I mean, shit. I'm keeping him here because it's free energy. We just eating off his energy and so like that. He keeping the chat alive. Shout out to Chris. But back to the science shit or rabbit hole shit. You know, life, when people be like, "Oh, life is a matrix," or "life rabbit hole," or "this is a rabbit hole" and shit like that, you got to think like we are in a this is that's what this is. It's a cycle and shit like that. You keep on going through the same shit. Everybody's life, to a degree, is a rabbit hole. Everybody's life is something that they've gotten sucked into, and now they're trying to figure out how to create something out of that. You know, so shout out to Joshua Brown. He said, seems like at this time it's more about diving deeper into yourself for the insight and information instead of relying on someone or something external. Exactly. That's what I've been saying about the age of bad advice. Like, and even my point right here, talking about the rabbit hole. Like, instead of looking at the rabbit hole as a bad thing, understand what your own rabbit hole is. It's like everybody is living out cycles and shit like that. That's what the year 8 even should have made you aware of. Damn, I keep running in these cycles. I keep doing the same thing over and over again. I keep doing this infinity signal. And it's like, you know what? When you in that type of space, you gotta realize like the purpose of even your lifespan and what you're doing is to identify what these patterns are, and the first thing we might want to do is completely go to war with them. But you got to understand why do I keep going through that pattern? Why do I keep doing that same thing? Because there's something in that you find appealing. There's something in that rabbit hole that you like, man, if I could just get to the end of this, if I could just get to that next layer of whatever I'm going through that I keep cycling through, yeah, it's something that you're attached to that keeps you kind of in that same loop. And again, that equates even to the moon being in Scorpio, and Scorpio energy in and of itself. It's like going deep, 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 deep. But you realize you're going so deep that at some point you gotta identify. You gotta identify. Wait. What do I keep? What's either pulling me and attracting me, or what's causing me to like you saying run away? What, either I'm running from something or something keeps pulling me into its orbit. And once you start to identify that, you become a master over that, and you can then decide where you want to take that shit. He said they said there's a trap door at the bottom of the ocean leading to the top of the sky. Hey, real shit. I like the cryptic, the poetic. Shout out to Cute Swan. He said, I've been running away from myself, but now I'm feeling called to face myself. Shit gets scary. Yeah, man. Revelation season. That's what I've been saying. Shit. He said, I love Sagittarius season. Whole new perspectives on everything. Breaking free from the limited subconscious patterns. Exactly. Exactly. He said, Dave, how blazed are you, homie? You know I'm beyond this shit. So I'm way beyond whatever concept of blaze you got. I'm way beyond that shit. But that's what we on right now. It's so much more beneath the surface, and the combination of the fact of Scorpio and Sag is gonna take you deep and further within. So yeah, like this is the time, and see that's why it's so crazy that think that a holiday would take up this energy, a time in which like a bunch of people gonna be over your crib and this person gonna be asking for that person gonna be asking for this and shit like that at a time in which I feel like it's so important for us right now to sit with the fuck ourselves and fucking like go deep and far into what it is that you see for your life and what you looking around. It's what you've been seeing around you, the meaning and reasonings you've been associating the shit. It's transform that. That's not what it really was. That's not what it really was. Whatever you was looking at, it's not. That's not what it really was. It's something else. It's something to do with you. Like I said in the last life. What if the last live? What if I'm the demon? What if how you're seeing things is influencing and creating different shadows that now you have to address, and it's a different tone you got to address these things with. And that's what the new moon is kind of prepping us up for. It's like we really should be spending some time reflecting right now, spending more time kind of again with ourselves, just kind of looking deeper and looking a little further beyond the veil and saying like, wait, hold on, where am I interpreting these things from? What's kind of leading me to kind of believe this about myself? What's kind of putting me in this space to kind of see it this way? Why do I feel so negative and opposing to that? Why do I feel so accepting and embracing of this? You know what I'm saying? And all these things being tied to your value or what you bring of value and things like that. Right. Sit down and grab that journal. Let it flow. Exactly. People need to be exploring their own mind. People need to be exploring their subconscious today. That's what this energy is really about. And you need to be grateful if you do have your own mind and perspective on things, is that that's something to worth being grateful for. Look at this. Hold on. Whole parking lot empty. This nigga said, let me just awkwardly park right here. Like, this ain't even a parking spot. He's just in the street. It'd be weird stuff, man. It's like miles of parking spots. But anyway, man, he probably just trying to hear the word, man. But I feel you. But you know, that's what's going on today and shit like that. Don't let the holiday season and shit like that influence you to feel like you got to do something that you don't feel fit to do. You know what I'm saying? I recommend kind of just getting your own space today and kind of diving within yourself, because there's things that you might have to understand about yourself that you didn't quite see beforehand that is can start to kind of make sense out of, you know what I'm saying? You can start to make sense out of thin air basically. And even if and what I'm saying is not that you meditating is going to magically solve all your problems. All I'm saying is that there might be a day in which you have to learn about yourself that can bring proper insight that will influence how the new moon hits you, so that when it comes you'll be in an open enough space to say, you know what, even if no one else believes me about this vision, and even if this vision costs me certain things in the material third dimensional world, connections, people, places, things, if this is what you believe in and this is where you want to take things, go that direction. And again, anything that is rejected or left or severed, good riddance, because it's like it just wasn't meant to go with you where you going. You know, it wasn't meant to follow you. It wasn't meant to continue on. You know what I'm saying? Like so many things we limit ourselves to based upon fear of whatever it is that your trauma taught you to be afraid of. Because that's what happens. When we're young, we go through trauma, and it teaches us to be afraid of certain aspects of life. But then, as you continue to develop and grow, you realize that again, some people go their whole life being afraid of these things, and they cling on to what makes them feel safe, and that keeps them limited. But then there's other people who realize that everything I'm afraid to lose is the very same thing that's keeping me trapped and confined. And the things that I truly have could never be lost from me. What's yours can never be lost. It's yours. And that goes for people, places, and things. Connections, vulnerability, even ego or character to a degree. Because how we see ourselves is important. Is important. That's the ego. But to become attached to that ego when it's under pressure is a death sentence. Because you're going to be so afraid of losing how you see yourself or how others see you, the validation, and all these different things that you're not going to be able to be who you need to be as life goes on, as things transform. You have to be fluid. You have to know how to flow with shit, flow with life, and things like that. Otherwise, again, your life becomes that much more controlled by external forces, and you become less and less a powerful vessel for God. And this is how you kind of block your own blessings in the sense. If we're talking about different popular phrases that people be using, blocking your blessings is when you diminish your own light for the sake of other people in their opinions or how they see things and things like that. Sometimes you gotta realize your granny don't know what the fuck she talking about. Sometimes your mom don't know what she talking about. Your friend, your whoever, your part. Sometimes they don't know what they talking about. Sometimes they do. I'm not saying, I'm saying go on a rogue mission and don't listen to nobody, but sometimes you got to know where that, again, where your energy begins and ends and where another person's energy begins and ends. And sometimes what you looking at for where you're going in life, if you make certain decisions, it's like everything comes down to the decisions you make. So if you're going in a certain direction and things like that, you on a certain mission, that need to be what you stand on. And the ones who really do want to still be in your life or care for your success and things like that, these are the people who are going to be these are going to be people who support it in some kind of way. Even if they don't agree, the ones who want to be in your life are going to support what it is that you want to see out of things. You know what I'm saying? They're going to support that. Unless what you're doing is complete bullshit, and then you get the real friends who speak up and say, "Yo, nah," But even then, sometimes it's just a conflict of interest, and you have to make that decision. You know what I'm saying? You have to make that decision whether you're gonna listen to that person or not, and shit like that. At the end of the day, said Metro booming, booming. Yeah, I mean, I guess. You know what I'm saying? I guess. But yeah, this new moon is not no light stuff. You know what I'm saying? Even though, but it is a journey to make you more light about what's going on around you. Because right now you might be feeling heavy about it, but it's about transmuting that and putting that in a different space. Again, Sagittarius does bring a certain lightness, does bring a certain freedom to things if you're able to tap into that truth, because that's what Sagittarius and Scorpio share. It's an energy, truth, the pursuit of it. The truth will set you free. So Scorpio becomes the detective, the hunter, the hunter of truth, the soldier of truth, and then Sagittarius becomes that kind of lighter side in which it now ascends. You said we will feed our people no matter what. Right, exactly. Providing for the people. You said it's hard when the bullshit is tarot. You said my whole family is Christian, and I'm trying to start from the bottom up. Yeah, with different religious systems and shit like that, you just gotta realize everybody in this world, everybody operates off the same kind of thing mentally. People are constantly trying to find what they can create comfort in. So people are always going to choose comfort over anything, and a lot of people have created comfort out of religion. So there's nothing you can do to combat that as far as like trying to convince anybody. You're never going to convince anybody out of what makes them comfortable. So, that's kind of like a rule of thumb with people, places, and things. The best you can do is be a representation and an example in your own life. And see, the thing is, that forces you to separate in certain ways. But in the best case scenarios, You become a representation of what they um, you become a representation of a new system of safety or a new potential comfort. And this is where people start to believe in you. When you represent a form of comfort in what you do, people start to believe in you and want to join and continue to kind of build on that. They start to see you as an inspiration. But just a rule of thumb, if what you do as an example isn't doesn't look like potentially more comfortable than what they have already cleaned themselves to, they will never convert to your side of seeing things. Like it's a weird little mind thing, but 98% of humans operate off of that mentality. Even the most, even people who spiritual, everybody on some level, and honestly, I think this is just a human nature hardwired thing. Comfort. If it don't look to potentially be comfortable in that, and what I'm clinging to is more comfortable than taking a chance on that, and see again, trauma and all kinds of things increase these levels and sometimes decrease them. Because sometimes people will be in a space where they don't quite know, but they're willing, their heart is open, or they're emotionally available to take a chance on certain things. So they'll open their selves to that, aka be allow themselves to be vulnerable to be in that space of uncertainty until facts are shown. But 98% of the world, especially in today's time, and this is why it's so difficult to craft genuine relationships and things and connections, because people look at the odds and say, you know what, it's more safe and comfortable with them. Whatever makes me feel like is more comfortable. People always just going to choose comfort over loyalty. Like they're everyone operates off of that. And again, to a degree, you're a fool if you don't. Everyone is most loyal to what makes them most comfortable. It's very hard, especially in today's time, to find somebody who's willing to take a chance on things that they can't quite predict, control, or assume. It's very hard. So, in that instance, what you were saying, you just gotta find that. This is why create community is so important, because you need as quick as possible to find people, places, and things around you, or find people around you who share a similar sentiment, and y'all can exchange vulnerabilities with. That's the only way in which that's kind of like what everyone is going to be starting to revert to. Yeah, sorry, I know that was loud as fuck. That cough, nasty as fuck. But yeah, shout out to Ton of Vision in the chat. Facts, your foundation, you work and make will be there when and if their delusion ever would pop. Exactly. This is why in every at all times you got to know who you are, because that anchor, knowing who you are is that anchor. So again, I can have an open heart. I can take chances. I can believe in things. I can trust people. I don't have trust issues in that sense because I have a certain security within self. So I know who I am beyond my association with another individual, therefore, or my relation with another individual. Therefore, I don't have blockages that keep me from experiencing vulnerability. And see, what I've experienced is that I get the most out of things, out of life, out of experiences, because I'm able to move in with an open heart. But there's a lot of people who don't know what that is. They don't feel secure in themselves, therefore they connect insecurely. And so they always on some kind of tit for tat or lower, less than energy of trying to piece together something to make them feel comfortable. And they always get the cheap end. And see, ironically, it seems to them they do that to not give too much. But ironically, they get the least out of every experience they encounter because they don't know how to open themselves up. They don't know how to actually connect. They've lost connection with their true self. And so they lack a certain level of confidence that makes it possible to even experience that shit. And that's where you got to realize when you come across people who can't connect to themselves, it something you feel like it make you question the value of yourself. But you got to realize that person is in a certain type of hell, and can't save them from themselves. They got to come to a conclusion in which they can take themselves out of that and experience and walk out of that cave and experience it for themselves. Other than that, Again, you as a person, as a spirit who peeps that, you have so much value. You need to low key limit and consider your time you're gonna invest into that type of bullshit. You said when you know who you really are, you have nothing to prove to no one. Just be. Exactly. Right. Exactly. You said negative sponges trying to judge folks like they're God. Right. Exactly. And the only reason they're projecting God is because they're trying to find it within themselves. So they like, man, it's a crazy world. It's a crazy world. There's a lot of things that compile and combine and things like that that make you kind of just realize like, damn, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of it's sometimes it'll make you just be like, yo, what the fuck? It'll make you feel like you in the wrong place, wrong time, life wise. Like I was born in the wrong generation. I was born at the wrong time. But I think that's all bullshit. You was born right when you was supposed to be born. The question is, can you create can you connect the dots? We all got to figure out how to connect dots in our life and shit like that. So that looks like you might have to be the one who does the groundwork, which is go through the times alone, go through the moments of having nobody around you, no examples, and be the example. You know what I'm saying? All my life, I've had to make my own conclusion. You know what I'm saying? I grew up with both parents in the home. I grew up with a very good foundation and shit like that. I come from a very cool space and shit like that. As far as my parents, they wasn't crazy crackheads. They wasn't on no nut shit. You know what I'm saying? They stayed together. They provided good examples. But even then, they couldn't. They didn't have the details. They didn't have the expansion to actually. You know what I'm saying? They didn't have the perception still. And when I was born and things like that, growing up, I learned that. Like even with the best examples, there's certain things about life that you still have to go on as an individual and grasp for yourself and things like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I've seen the lowest of the lows. I've been in situations. I've gone and spent time and shit like that in areas and spaces and had situations of my own and was seeing the other side of life. And this is what I was like, damn, it's just, you know, again, your whole life is a testimony. And you're constantly seeing different aspects of things so that you can pull all these different things together. And it's like it's like the craft of or the act of cooking. You cook. It's taking a bunch of different ingredients that might not make sense together. For instance, you trying to make something spicy, but even in you'll realize if you cook, you know what I mean. It'd be a recipe for something spicy, but it takes some sugar. You know what I'm saying? Take some sugar or something like that to make the meal or the flavors come together. It takes some sugar into something spicy in order for it to all come together. Like that's a science. That's how life be. It'd be like you be, you know what I'm saying, in different aspects or whatnot. Like for instance, if anybody who's into baking and stuff like that, to make a cake and stuff like that, you might have to put a little salt into the ingredients. Something that seems like it wouldn't go together, but life itself is like that. It's like a bunch of ingredients and your experiences. You go through life and you got to take different things, add it to the mix to create something that's unique and like something that again tastes good for you because everyone's taste buds is different, and that's you as an individual having a different again taste for life and what you want to encounter, what you want to experience. Yeah, yeah. I think what it was, I think my phone, I think the speakers are blown out or something like that. And so when I speak just from the like when I make a video or go live and I'm just talking through the phone, it don't pick me up right. So I just went ahead and connected some headphones and shit like that. But I appreciate you for being here. Thanks for everybody who lending me an ear and shit like that. Like, you know, I just find myself, this live I say about prep for Sagittarius, but honestly, it's just, and I guess it really is, you know, but I found myself just kind of being like just very anti as far as like the vibe of the day and what's going on in the energy, just very just no, everything seemed like it's opposing. And it put me in a space where I realized that that might be the type of experience we going through right now, is that everything around you might start to seem like a sign to give up or a inclination that things won't get better and shit like that, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Kind of how they tell you when things get better or right before things get really good, things gonna start to get really bad. And that's the balance of life. That's how we do. Everything is ebb and flow. And of course, we can do little tricks to not get so consumed, to kind of lessen the extremes and try to live in equilibrium. But the truth is that life is about all of it. Life is about the highs, the lows, and the equilibrium. So, of course, like on some spiritual shit, we want to stay in that equilibrium, but there's going to be times in which you're pulled in extremes. There's going to be times where you completely don't believe in yourself. There's going to be times where there's nothing no one could tell you. You the shit. But it's all about knowing how to flow and navigate through all those different spaces in order for you to continue on. Because, again, to think that you can only be in an exalted space in life is foolish. Just like it is to think that you're always going to be in a depressive state. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes we cling ourselves to, we start to associate who we are and our value to the states of beings that we might be in. And the thing is, if you stay in the state of being long enough, yeah, you will start to ingrain your personality into that, but that's still false. So, you know, again, remaining fluid and understanding that you're going to go through different phases and go through different aspects of life, but knowing how to let go when it's time to let go, when it's time to see something from a different angle, knowing how to be okay with being wrong or being okay with not seeing the way everyone else sees it. Knowing when you right, hey, I'm right, and whether or not I lose everything for being right, aspect as far as where I'm going in life, then so be it. You know what I'm saying? But again, those who, the people, places, and things, energies that's meant to carry on with you will continue to follow you, will continue to be around you. You know what I'm saying? And that's for the people in life who's generating energy and putting things out and stuff like that. In life, there's many different roles. That's kind of why I was saying in the last live is levels to this shit. Because sometimes your role in life is to be the spark, inspiration, and the leader. But sometimes you encounter, it's like sometimes your role might be a follower, a supporter, somebody who's meant to kind of more so be in the background as support. Sometimes your role might be, you know, the sidekick who is kind of like, say the secondary main character, what I'm saying, who's just there and comic relief and shit like that. Sometimes your role is this and things like that. Sometimes I think we go through life and we just haven't decided on what role we play. And the thing is, you can be whatever role you create for yourself. You don't have to take a trope. You don't have to just go along with what's already been provided. You can make that role for yourself, But once you decide, start to be comfortable in that role. And if you want to change it up, you got all the right in the world to change things up and do what you want to do. It's like, again, you know, I don't know. I don't know how many ways to say life is what you make it. You know what I'm saying? Shit like that. But it is. You know what I'm saying? It's exactly what you make it. You know what I'm saying? But getting back to this prep, you know what I'm saying? If we're gonna talk about some transits and just energy in general, I know we an hour in. The moon in Scorpio right now, again, going through these transformations, sitting with yourself, might be in a dark space, might have to kind of sit with yourself and kind of fight through certain things in order for you to transform yourself in a space to be more open minded, more willing to be vulnerable, and more seeing the wisdom and the power that really comes with you opening your heart and seeing things from a more broader perspective. Again, getting over emotional grudges. This is that energy right before the new moon. Get over those last minute grudges so that you can put your space in yourself in a space to be free. So when the new moon comes, okay, there's new things to cling on to. There's new stars to shoot for. There's new potential. Oh wait, hold on. I can believe in myself. I can believe in this because I've let go of this false belief. And a lot of what we might be feeling right now is associated with some kind of restriction or boundary due to the moon in Scorpio being trining up with Saturn. So through this weekend, we could do a lot of damage to ourselves psychologically by attaching who we are to what we're bound to as an emotion. Don't bound yourself to certain negative emotions. Start to associate yourself and put yourself in a space where you see the potential of where something can build up to. That's where you want to take this trine. But emotional trauma and different pressures and things like that, your reality around you might drag you down and convince you that whatever restrictions are the value of you. And that's not the case. So release those shackles. Again, transmute. See the reality of the situation, but don't become consumed by it to the point where you allow it to drag you down to a space where you cannot see anything other than what might be pressure or what might be, again, dangerous. Look at this fucking leaf. It fell and it's stuck right on the window. It's crazy shit, man. And that's what I. Damn, it's trying to get in the. Damn, it's some magic. But again, don't let it get to your head and shit like that. You always have the power to move move the world how you want to move it. You know what I'm saying? Again, this new moon is going to do a lot for setting that tone. And you're going to have a new jump off point in which you can start to grasp for new things in the sky. You can start to create new wisdom and new things to see. But you have to take that initiative first. You know what I'm saying? You can't allow that to manipulate you into thinking less of yourself and devaluing yourself. Now, when it comes to the moon, yeah, the moon already talked about being opposite to Uranus and stuff like that. So, feeling opposite to your uniqueness and who you are, again, your character, all these things are important. So, stand up for what you stand against. Stand up for what you stand against. Don't just agree. Don't just be passive. You know what I'm saying? If you gotta light the sky up. If you gotta go to war for something, go to war for it. You know what I'm saying? If it don't coincide with things you want to actually associate with, be that stick in the mud, be that rock in the sand. You know what I'm saying? Be that one who's gonna stand right in the middle of things and say, well, this is the separation. You know what I'm saying? And again, you don't gotta be overly aggressive, but all I'm saying is that within yourself, know where your values lie and stick to those. Um, yeah. Talked about the trine. So the moon is also going to be squaring Mars. So learning how to feel about aggression, how to transmute it. Don't just get mad and allow your anger to destroy yourself. Take that anger and transmute it to something that's actually going to put you at the next step or take you to the next level. I think Mars is finna go retrograde sometime this week. If not today, very soon. Before December. I think it might be today. So what we was fighting for or our aggression and anger, we're gonna have to think twice about what was making us angry. Again, two questions. What if I'm the demon? What if I'm the demon? And two, the question is, um, how productive is this frustration? Because if the frustration isn't productive, then there's no purpose in getting wrapped up in it. If that frustration is leading you to be cut certain things out, go harder, build up something or push something out that need to be said, by all means, that's powerful aggression. That's good frustration. But if that frustration is not leading you to develop more about yourself and get stronger and whatever, you need to transmute that ASAP, or else you're gonna destroy your kingdom. You're gonna destroy what you built up based upon blind fury and not really knowing where to place that anger and where to place that frustration. Shout out to Samira in the chat. So don't get wrapped up in blind frustration. A lot of times we be mad at ourselves and we blame it on people externally. So be mindful of that aspect of things too. Make sure that you're putting your frustration into the right things and let that be what you destroy. Or if there's aspects of yourself that you see that you don't agree with and that you don't want to be a part of the future, go to war with those things before you start to project them onto others and make these out of people that don't deserve that. You know what I'm saying? A person could be sitting in their room creating enemies out of nothing because they mad at themselves secretly. And also, don't be hit with the okey doke. When people get around you and they hyper aggressive and they trying to come at you like you doing something wrong, stop them in their tracks. Or you can just in your mind say, this motherfucker probably mad at themselves, mad that they ain't doing what I'm doing. So they're finna find anything I'm doing that looks prosperous as a threat to where they could take their life. Fuck them. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you gotta let people, cut off season. You know what I'm saying? Cut people at the throat, at the jugular. You know what I'm saying? Mentally. You know what I'm saying? You don't catch no case. unless you bought that. If you bought that, hey, I didn't advise you to do that. But mentally, cut people at the jugular. Wait a minute, before you spewing all those projections, I think you need to redirect these things and consider where you mad at your fucking self first, and even check that within yourself before you go at neck. Peep game on where you really mad at yourself. Like, damn, I allowed this. I let this get this far. I didn't do this, that, and I was supposed to do it. Shout out to Insight 11. I didn't do this, that, and the third when I was supposed to. That's on me. What if I'm the demon? What if I'm the demon? Like I something in me that's just the phrase. What if I'm the demon? First, and again, if I'm the demon, and that's the reason why you associate with demons, people around you act in a certain way. What if I was the first one? And even if I wasn't the first one, what if I was just associating too much with my demon side, and that's the reason I'm experiencing connections with individuals who seem they are demonic. And let's keep in mind the definition of demon. Demon is anything that goes against. Demons go against. So again, all possibilities. As you a piece of all possibilities, a demon is anything that kind of goes against your spirit and your truth to you. You know what I'm saying? To you. But a demon to you might not be a demon to everyone else. And that's also another nod to not always feel as though you got to fight other people's battles. Don't personalize other people's conflict and shit like that. All people who, again, that's old school religious gladiator mindset, to feel as though, oh, because this person's an enemy, that person, or this person is calling out that person, I gotta jump in, and I gotta feel like I got for this, I gotta fight for that, I gotta pick a side, and I gotta, gladiator shit. You just a person who you know better than the person who's wrapped up in sports, because secretly you living vicariously through your this person's. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of mental traps and shit like that. That's why I brought that up. But there's a lot of mental traps you got to just be mindful of, man. But yeah, back to the moon. The moon in Scorpio. Um, everything that has come to be your life is your fault on some level or another. You know, harsh truth, but an important one to bear. You know what I'm saying? Just understand that just as it was your fault that you're in that kind of turmoil, it's also you have the ability to get yourself out of it. It's just a matter of it or not you're willing to go through that process. You know what I'm saying? So whatever you got yourself into, you have the potential to get yourself out, but it's whether or not you want to or not. And again, sometimes, again, life sometimes it's all a journey. So if you put yourself in a certain situation, sometimes I think we be so focused of trying to get ourselves out of something to make something back to how it was, instead of understanding that when we get ourselves into some shit, we might have to go through it instead of trying to be so focused and worried on getting ourselves out. Because sometimes you too far gone. You've been your whole life. You've been on bullshit. You've been lying. You've been doing whatever you. So you in too deep. You might as well go through. And going through don't mean continuing the bullshit. It means finding a new way through. You know what I'm saying? If you dig a hole, you can keep going lower. You could try to pull yourself back. I think that's going to take you way longer, instead of just deciding to change your trajectory, change your direction, start to do something different. And then if you was digging yourself in a hole on a slant, you can now dig yourself up. That's going to be a lot quicker than trying to dig yourself out sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Right. The silver lining. The silver lining. Right. It's always there. It's always there. It's always something to look at and be like, you know what? What I could take that way. That way looks, you know what I'm saying? Like, people be in dark rooms, but there's always that silver lining. That reminds me of, like, yeah, like you being in a dark room, but then there's a door. You might not be able to make out the shape of the door, but you can see that little slit underneath the door where the light from the other room is peeking in. And that be a lot of times all you need in order to change the trajectory of your life. Is open that little door, and you can find it by looking at that little silver lining. It might not be in the same aspect and shit like that, but the door is there. To get up and make your effort to get to that door and open it and shit like that, or figure out how to unlock it. you know. But yeah, man, it's a lot of shit going on, a lot of shit going on. Just don't lose sight of where you going and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Allow these things to come and pass. You know, because it's all waves. It's just a current. You know what I'm saying? It's just a current, so it passes like everything else. You might feel this way today, but tomorrow is a whole different vibe. You know. Let me see what else with the moon. I pretty much touched on all the moon aspects in the last live. Those are the ones that was kind of sticking out to me. We're heading into the second decan of Sagittarius, which is going to be Aries. So again, a lot of what we're doing right now is preparation to know what to fight for, war for. So, you know, invest this energy into in this focus into the right things. Again, believe in yourself. Define what is morally right to you and stop looking outside of yourself for advice or signals to validate your uncertainty. You know what I'm saying? Even with the most validation, you still gonna be uncertain until you decide. So making a decision is most important at this time. Again, during um, I say during cardinal seasons is when a lot of times we feel of decisions, but really decisions are made and crafted during mutable times in which a lot is going on and we change and we develop in new perspectives. And this is the best time to kind of make a decision. He said, "Do you follow in the path of your birth chart? I've been thinking about getting mine read for real." Yeah, hit for a read. Um, do I believe in following the path of your birth chart? The thing about the birth chart, again, it's still just a tool. So it lets you know that in a kind of like vibrational direction to maybe go into, but as far as what you want to do, that's kind of like how I do consultations is I bridge the gap. So we look at the chart to see where the and then I look at what you know who you are and what you want to do, and we find the practical solution and like the real thing that you can start to tap into to kind of create that marriage of both. Um, I do. I'd say I believe in. See, I don't like the way it's worded, so I'm not gonna say I believe in following the path of your birth chart, but I will say that I believe that the nature provides good details and information on how to go about tapping into your spiritual path or how to craft your own purpose. I feel like crafting a purpose is way more spiritually involved and has nothing to do with astrology. And then astrology just tell you the vibration and way of going about it, or potential and gives you tools and insights on what's gonna make it look good and resonate with yourself and with others and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like for instance, you could look at your North Node. Like I'm a North Node Scorpio, so to me, it's in the 12th house. But there's more aspects in the chart that kind of point to different aspects of how to go about that. I have a profession I want, but how I go about it or the development of it is gonna be in like a that type of vibration, Scorpio. So it's gonna take me to go deep within myself and be more vulnerable to those things and let go of certain things, transmute certain things in order for me to see where my path could take me. But I could choose any profession. I could do anything. You know what I'm saying? Same thing for you. You could do anything. If it's tarot, right? Tarot is your choice of how you want to express or carry out your purpose. So now the question becomes, what are the tangible things you could do with tarot to make it realistic? And two, what is the energy which you should be doing your tarot readings that can lead to you kind of getting the best reception of it, or you know you being able to find your and way of doing it that make your tarot readings different than everyone else who ever did tarot readings. And the more you can find that, you kind of craft your one of a kindness, and then all of a sudden you become the type of the tarot reader who started this, or the tarot reader who also did this, that, and the third. It ain't never been done before and shit like that. And that's kind of like how everybody chart consultate. That's how I be doing chart consultations, because we all have that one of energy which has to come from your spirituality. But the birth chart just gives you little details and like, oh well, if you did it like this, you know what I'm saying, you could kind of become the person who hit that look at the energy that ain't nobody hit before and shit like that. But yeah. Um yeah. So in a sense, to answer the question again, I do not believe in following the path of your birth chart, but I do believe that your birth chart got he said, how do I get a reading? Just email me at 717conference.info@gmail.com. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, I don't believe in following the path of your birth chart, but I do believe your birth chart holds key information and opportunities for you to tap in to where that path is and things and shit like that. But yeah, just email me at 717conference.info@gmail.com. And yeah, you know what I'm saying? We'll get that popping. Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate all y'all coming through and stuff like that. But yeah, and speaking of that, that kind of makes me want to talk about the North Node. I think this is going to be the last topic before I dip. The North Node shift. So right now the North Node is in Aries, 4 degrees. It's making its way into Pisces. This next year is it's very potent. This next year kind of carries a lot of energies in which we can what's the best way to say it? It's like, kind of like that energy, get ready, set, go. The year 9 is about go. You know what I'm saying? You got to go. So right now, think about these next couple months as we lead up into the end of the year as that set. You know what I'm saying? You already ready. Those who are ready know that they ready, but they just got to set. So get things set. Whatever it is that's supporting your life, get that set. Whatever it is that you're trying to do in life, get that set. You trying to pursue, get that set. So that when the first degree of Aries hits, you can go. Um, the North Node being in Pisces, it's going to make it to where, again, your faith is going to be tested in ways of, like, again, it's easy for me to say, well, in the year, when Node gets into Pisces, you got to deal with believing in yourself. It's easy for me to say some bullshit like that, but the truth is, believing in yourself is a battle in and of itself, because everything in reality is going to show you where you not where your imagination is. The question is, how do you leverage that? How do you balance those two worlds? You said, for real. Yeah, yeah, for sure. You said, for real, everything set up, perfect timing. So many different things I can point to that back this up. Yeah, right, exactly. This whole year is about the setup. In the last couple months, again, we still got Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. So right now in Sag is you seeing the result of everything you experienced from Aries season up until now. Now it's like, okay, let me condense that into a philosophy. Let me make sense. Let me derive a meaning out of all those experiences up until now. Again, you could everybody on different levels, so don't judge yourself too harshly. Just accept what level you on. If you've been doing and planting good seeds, if you've been planting good seeds, you're gonna see how many things you have as far as potential setups. You're gonna have things to work with. If you've been planting bad seeds or you kind of been going in and out, you're gonna see less and less things that you can kind of grasp on that's gonna help you set up. But again, there's always a chance to get ahead. There's always a chance to catch up. You just gotta be willing to do the work. But regardless, your life is your life. Your path is your path. So wherever you're at, right, take what you got and realize that, okay, I'm gonna have to just take whatever around me available to add and contribute to this setup. But year 9 is going to be the jump off point. So right now in Sagittarius, we just seeing the result details of all these experiences. Not details, but experiences. We might seeing details, but you're supposed to be taking all these experiences from this year and, right, clarity season, right, on it, deriving a clear meaning and reasoning. Now this meaning and reasoning is tied to your compass. It's tied to your direction. A lot of this Sagittarius energy, again, is trying in the North Node while it's still in Aries. So we see it right there. The path is right there. You just have to put it into practice. You have to practice what you preach. And that's what the second deacon of Sagittarius is going to kind of provide you or force you into. It's not really going to force you, actually. It's going to just be a potential for you to tap into. But if you choose not to, it's because you're lost in some kind of selfish ideology of what you want to be true. But you have to practice what you preach. There's people who preach, right? There's people who practice that in real life, and then there's people who preach, live a lie. So everything that they're preaching is more so for the attention. So you're doing the preaching for the wrong reasons. You're not practicing it, so you must be trying to do it to be seen in a certain way or to get some kind of benefit from portraying that character. But that character is not you. So when people, go to you as the person who knows something about that, only thing you can give them is either something to sell, something to finesse them, or something that lead them to need more information or context because you ain't got it. So, again, this that preacher who live who in that mega church that get exposed and shit like that and be like, wait, hold on, you wasn't even preaching nothing. You cheating on your wife. How you preaching about adultery and you cheating and you got this and you got that? You know what I'm saying? You doing bullshit and stuff like that. Guess what? People will stop tapping into your service. People gonna start to realize all person's a phony. So Sag season again, it makes it very clear at the end of it. The full moon in Gemini, we're gonna be very clear on who's a phony, a jester, and not to be taken seriously, and who actually deserves the praise, who actually deserves the connection, who actually deserves the relationship and things like that. Because Gemini full moon, people might not take it serious because Gemini is a light energy, but realize Gemini is the lifeblood. Gemini is the nervous system. Gemini is the joints and the things that connect things. Without a proper Gemini chakra, you're not even going to be able to socialize and navigate and move and maneuver through rooms and stuff like that to spark up the conversation for you to be considered on someone else's mind. People not going to want to hear you, and if people can't hear you, they can't understand you. If they can't understand you, they're not going to care to push whatever narrative you trying to kick. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of importance right now in practicing what you preach so that at the end of the day, people will believe you. They'll know, okay, you don't only talk the talk, but you walk the walk. Now I'm a part of, I can contribute, donate, want to be a part of your service. I'm talking in the analogy as far as church and shit like that, but people will understand you and want to listen to your message. And when you get people listening, this is, guess what's right after Gemini? Cancer. When people are listening, they start to care. Once they start to care, this is where you create a world. This is how you start to give birth to something. This is how you nurture and create. This is the building blocks of anything that's going to be substantial. Because once we care about it, now we're paying attention to it. Once we're paying attention to it, now we want to work on it. We want to be an employee for it. We want to put it on a routine. We want to see it every day. And once we see it every day, now we developed a relationship with, a familiarity with it. Once we feel some kind of way, and again, I'm talking through the full moon experiences. This is now Aries season, the spring. So now that we have a relationship with it, now we want to see it prosper. The next one is going to be Scorpio week. Now we deep about it, and so on and so forth. I'm gonna just stop at April. I'm gonna just stop at March. Not yeah, but Aries season. That's what I meant to say. I'm gonna just stop at Aries season, where now the spark is now there. But it all comes from what we choose to do now. We have to practice what we preach first. And as we practice what we preach, this becomes, again, going into the next season, it's Capricorn. Now something that we can build a status off of. And so if you've had a tough 2024 and there was a lot of things you had to learn, shout out to Joe up in here, Solar Systems. Go ahead, check in, tap in. That boy be kicking that knowledge about them fixed stars. I wish I knew as much about fixed stars as my boy Joe. Man, he be getting to it. It's a lot to learn, but that's the nature of each one teach one, man. That's why I love it. But as we go into Capricorn season, that's what's going to be. You're going to have something substantial to build on. Are you building or not? And if you got something worth building, you're going to have, again, the potential for other people to want to contribute to that and build on to that things, build on to that shit. So, that's what's really, like, again, everything is progression. So you want to make sure you're striving to get clarity about yourself and know what you're doing, derive the right meaning and reasoning so you can put focus into the right things that'll lead to something tangible and respectable for those around you. That will lead to Aquarius energy, people wanting to contribute, teamwork, make the dream work, create a community out of that. Now, all of a sudden, boom, your dream actually has the potential to come true versus you being alienated but talking about a dream that you're disconnected from because you don't got nobody around you who also want to contribute to that. So you don't want to be alienated in Aquarius for a dream that has no point or ability to be realistic. Therefore, it's stuck as a delusion, all because you didn't practice what you preach. You know what I'm saying? Of course, in between seasons, there's always going to be something you can cling to kind of catch up. But fuck catching up, man. We in a different time where, again, I hope people who watch my channel don't feel like comfortable or cool with catching up. If you got to do it, you got to do it. Even me, I play catch up sometimes. But it's like, don't be cool with it. Try to peep game and stay on game. You know what I'm saying? He said Mooney got the sauce. This new moon semi conjunct Mercury. Yeah, right talk. Right. And that's again, speaking of the new moon, that's a lot of what we will have access to as well. You know what I'm saying? The moon being conjunct Mercury retrograde. Because again, right now a lot of that it's a lot of energy of, well, I could do this or I could do that. But one of those choices is just a reflection of everything you've been doing in the past that is a representation of the cycle that you need to break free from. So really right here we hold the keys to either our own enslavement, our own we hold the keys to our own entrapment or our freedom and things like that. Yeah, people reconsidering what perspectives bring them joy. Right, I remember you said that in a video too. Again, joy. And joy is funny because we forget about joy. People on a mission and shit like that, we get so serious about shit and we be doing so many things trying to transform. Again, this whole year you probably was hustling, doing everything, trying to be serious, trying to build on something. But then again, wait, hold on, wait, what actually brings me happiness? Right, a more sustainable happiness. Because joy is like to have enjoyment of something. It's kind of like the genuine appreciation of things throughout an experience or throughout a process. To be happy is like a one-stop destination. To be happy is almost like like it's an orgasm in the sense of it's there and it's gone. I'm happy or I'm sad on this. But to have joy, you can enjoy a process, enjoy a workout, enjoy a difficult time in life. You can enjoy, it's like it kind of has energies of endure in it. You know what I'm saying? It's like sustainable. I like that. You know what I'm saying? And again, optimism, all that Sagittarius energy, we forget that we have that connection to that. We have the connection to actually see beyond what might just be holding us hostage at the moment and trying to kind of fight for our attention. And that's really where that warfare comes into because, you spend so much time in a dark space and you forget that life is beautiful in and of itself. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I'm about to take me a little walk and shit like that. It's beautiful side. You know what I'm saying? It's beautiful. And again, we be going through bullshit. It'd be a lot of things to complain about, a lot of things that just be kind of fucking you up for a second. But then it's like, wait a minute. Breathe. Look around you. It ain't too bad sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Again, everybody going through something. I get it. We have to create that joy within ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Right, grounding. I remember you said that too. Shoot for the stars, but stay grounded. You said it with a lot more sauce and shit like that, but that's kind of the gist of it, and that kind of is the person energy where it's like, as far as you do want to go, you keep that in perspective, but then connect back to the ground. You know what I'm saying? Stay stabilized and understand that it's a journey. You're not just gonna snap your fingers and things is automatically magically gonna all be in your favor. All this journey is teaching you different nuances and things to keep going. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah, self care by people what you pay attention to, right? Because you again, we control this shit. You know what I'm saying? You in control of your body, or are you? A lot of people be walking around and don't be. But that's what Sagittarius were of. You know what I'm saying? You said if your 12th house is your feet, then that's the energy that grounds you to earth. Ironically, that be your dreams, real shit. But it be your sign that you got in that 12th house. You said special thanks to Beyond TV. Respect to you. Shout out to Miguel. Appreciate you for being here. Real talk. Yeah. Honestly, yeah, y'all should check that 12th house energy. You know what I'm saying? I was looking, matter of fact, looking at, shout out to Solar Systems. I was looking at my body chart the other day. I found my printout. I wish I had it on me, but yeah, right there, man. Your 12th house. Understand? See, that's the irony, and that's the point I'm gonna leave y'all on. Your dreams and shit like that. Your 12th house space. A lot of times, you realize that's the first space in this world that gets attacked because everything starts to become down. Like the older you get, things start to become more, connected more to realistic, what's possible, and things like that. And you got to remember that your 12th house space is something that no one ever seen. So for anyone to give you advice on what to do with your dreams and shit like that, it can only come from their limited mind space. And again, some people have good advice. People can still have good advice. People still have people can have good intentions and things like that. The best intentions for you, but you know, it takes you kind of going to that space of what's genuine to you to be able to kind of separate yourself from what others might deem as realistic and what others might see as what reality is. You connecting to that 12th house space, you owe it to yourself to bring what that you've seen in an imagination. You owe it to yourself to figure out how to ground that in this lifetime. And again, not everybody's dreams is going to be tangible in this dimension or in this lifetime, in their lifetime and shit like that. But it's all about the attempt. It's all about the practice of it. The journey of deciding for yourself to see something that you might not have seen reflected previously, the journey, the experience, because it's like life would take you in a direction just to kind of curve you that way or curve you this way. You know what I'm saying? You said people can give all the advice they want, it still won't work. Know what specific advice you need personally for you, right? It gets deep. Exactly. Say so you really have to understand that there's a point in which you have to just kind of turn that off and stop seeking somebody to tell you what's right or wrong about what it is that you're doing. Because again, everybody who's ever did something will tell you the same thing. It wasn't the right thing to do until it worked. Everybody in their life told them that wasn't the way to go until it worked. So it's like, you know, but like solar system was saying, it's that very same thing. It's the third leaf that then fell into the whip. It's that very same thing that reminds us that 12th house shit, our dream, that very same thing that reminds us why life is even worth living. That's how it grounds us. Because it's like, yo, if you keep on going through life and trying to do what everybody else is trying to do, it's like people is always going to point you in a direction. Like I said in the very beginning, people going to throw an expectation on you, but that's just a reflection of what they expect from themselves and what they think everyone is to live up to as far as whatever. But it's like it's that one thing that you connect to beyond this realm that keeps you again intact with who you really are. Therefore, you are very associated with it in that sense because you know who you are through that 12th house space. I'm probably talking in circles and shit like that, but y'all hopefully y'all get what I'm saying. That 12th house space is important in the sense of it reminds you of why you even here. Again, that is your meaning, your reasoning. That is your sense of self beyond the physical self. So when you understand that space and you tap to that, that's that keeps you grounded in the sense of reminding you of don't go too far from that. You know what I'm saying? Stop trying to prove to somebody else that their perception of you is more true than what you know to be true about yourself. That ain't it. He said my Pisces ass scared because I be Delulu, but I would never waver on God and myself. Yeah, man. Look, Delulu, sometimes, Delulu be the it's like the Lulu be the true you. So it's like sometimes you just gotta be like, yo, this is what I'm on. Again, it's only Delulu if you're not doing nothing in reality to make it possible. If you find again, sit down with yourself and finding a way to make something possible, make something tangible, and going through the hardship of making it make sense, that in and of itself makes it not delusional. And again, it's gonna be better for you if you get around people who consider that, say people who you can share those vulnerabilities with, who say, you know what, I actually believe in your potential to do this. And see, the thing is, a lot of times people grow up not being not around people who gave them the thumbs up about what they was into that nobody else could understand and shit like that. And they become people who recite the thing that their elders told them about. Nah, I don't know if that's realistic. I don't know if this. Again, projection and shit. So it's like you really can't listen to nobody, man. Like it's cool to pick up little pieces of information. Again, Sagittarius, little pieces of shit. But for the most part, don't you know what I'm saying? Be mindful to listen to anybody, especially during these times, because these times is like especially people speaking from places in which they really don't got no purpose or reason to speak. You say you inspired me to do my own new moon live in about an hour. Good shit. Yeah, yeah. I'm about to get off this. Yeah, people need that, man. The streets need that. Gotta go even deeper on the star. Yeah, I'm probably gonna tune in, man. I'm gonna take this walk. He said, yeah, it gets deep. Yeah, yeah. He said, you, yeah, not valued, and that's the thing. You gotta value your own dreams and shit like that. Depending what you got in that 12th house is gonna determine how to go about it and shit like that, and how you should, approach it. But yeah, y'all. Appreciate y'all for being here. Y'all have a beautiful day. You know what I'm saying? Continue to flow. Understand what's going on. Again, the moon is in Scorpio. So, again, don't take it too personal. Don't take it too deep. Transmute what you need to. Get hung up on no grudges. Transmute energy as possible. You know what I'm saying? As it's needed. Keep your eyes open. You know what I'm saying? Stay light enough to flow. Drive what meaning and reason is you need to make for the world around you. Keep that optimism and things like that. And tune into Solar System going live in a little bit, talking about these stars deeper. Much love, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.